Here we are, back with GPVWC's broadcast for the Le Mans 24-hour race. My name is Simon Smith, as ever dragging you kicking and screaming through the 24 hours of action. Alongside me as ever is Dave Carr-Smith, who is cameraman extraordinaire as well as race director. Now we've just seen poor Lucas Euler disconnect once again, and that has ruined things for him. However, I think of one man who would probably be a little bit delighted with that, and his name is Roy Schroten, who's just joined us in the commentary booth. Roy, how's it been for you so far?
Yeah, hello. My stage were quite fun. Was a bit tired because it's already 4 a.m. here. But it's a cool race. We were battling with Midnight indeed, but with their game crashes, we now have a 2.5 lap lead on them, and we are 2 laps down on the guy in front of us, so we're a little bit in nobody's world now. But yeah, it's a shame for Midnight what happens after the pace they had, but yeah, that's part of the game, I guess.
It is, and it's one part of the game that you'll be hoping to avoid, no doubt, because things have gone actually quite straightforward to plan for you for the first half of this race so far.
Yeah, we can't really complain. In my last stint, I was meant to drive still now, but I started to get some lag. I was losing 5 seconds a lap due to it, so I decided to let James drive it again to be safe.
Sure. And that obviously, discretion is the better part of caution on. Discretion is the better part of valor on that part, because it's better to just go, do you know what, this isn't working, let's sort it out, I suppose. So yeah, that's good. How's the car feeling out there?
In the beginning it felt a little bit bad, but after a while it was better. I got used to it more. It's quite cold, so the tires need some more laps to warm up. But I tried to do 2 stints on one set of tires, but that didn't really work, so yeah, it's fun, but it's hard.
Good stuff. Tom Jacobs takes over the TSA car in what is now 7th position. Simcraft have dropped down to 8th whilst they're still in the garage, although they're just rejoining now right behind. So that will be a battle that we can watch almost immediately, I think. Roy, I'd like to ask you 7 fun questions, if that was okay with you, before you go to sleep.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Right, it's nothing too scary, I promise.
I heard it. I heard the questions before, so...
Okay, so you should be well prepared for these answers.
Well, except of the superhero one, I should be fine.
Okie dokie. So, what is your favourite track of all time?
Of course I like Sanford, my home track. But I also like Canada and Monza, just because I'm fast on them really, but yeah, they're great tracks.
Well, that's a good reason, I guess,
yeah.
If they work well for you, so that's all good. What's your favourite racing series then, overall?
Oh, I like the IndyCar a
lot. Give us a reason for that one, because you'll be the 3rd person in a row that said IndyCar.
Oh wow. Yeah, I prefer them driving on ovals with close wheel-to-wheel racing. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, it has something special on it, I guess. Driving both on road courses, street courses and ovals.
Cool. And obviously, I mean, we're racing on R Factor now, but do you have a favourite racing game of all time as well?
Ooh, yeah, I like R Factor a lot. I spent so much of my life on it already. I still remember my first racing game on the PlayStation 2, the Formula 1 2000 game. That's really fun. The physics were just horrible, but it was fun to drive anyway. But I guess R Factor 2 is really a fun game for me. I've heard some great stories about iRacing and all, but I haven't tried it yet.
No problem. And what would you say is the big selling point then for R Factor 2? Because I've yet to make the jump.
Well, the psychics are a lot better than R-Factor 1, and yeah, I don't know, it's just a lot better. It looks great. Um, and also with the changing weather and during the races, you can get you have to drive on the optimum line because otherwise you'll be a lot slower because of the grip levels. So that's and yeah, the grip levels change throughout the race. So that's a good addition.
Cool, cool, okay. Um, so next question is, what's your favourite film?
I don't know if you know it, but Taxi.
Oh
It's that French movie about that guy in that cab with all
Yeah.
the French police crashing into each other.
Is that Robert De Niro?
I have no idea. I just like the movie, so
Cool, I'm sure it's Robert De Niro. Because it's quite an iconic film. Anyway, so that is a good choice. Good choice. And it's a film that I've not actually seen all the way through, so
you should.
I shall add that to my watch list.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. And then, if you could invent a flavour of crisp for yourself, what would you invent?
I discussed this with Calvin already, and I'm going for bitterbauer.
What's one of those?
I know you don't know what it is. We had a bit. Oh wait.
Wake up, Roy.
No, Mike is poking me. Are you meaning with the movie Taxi, the film out of the 50s?
No, there's a film in the 70s called Taxi with Robert De Niro.
I don't know if we are talking about the same movie then. I think not.
Wake up.
Wake up.
Yeah. Okay. I'm being popular now.
Everyone wants to poke you, Roy.
But yeah. What was the question again? It's getting late.
What was your flavour of crisp that you'd want to make?
Oh yeah, the bitterballen. On the last GPVWC day in Amsterdam, we had them, and everybody seemed to like them. It's a bit. You saw it in my picture of all the thing I had at my home dinner.
Oh yeah.
They were in there, but I don't know. I have no idea how to explain how they taste, but it's a really Dutch thing. It's really nice. You should try it.
Awesome. I'm always up for a bit of foodie. In fact, I can see it now on my Twitter feed. So yes. Yummy.
I might take some to the next GPVWC day.
I shall make a purchase order in advance. There we go. Done. If you were a superhero, what would you call yourself? Please say Super Schroten.
Super short. No, I have no idea. I was going to say Flying Dutchman, but that's everybody from from Holland says that. So I've literally no idea. I'm not going to say Beta Twin for the ones who want to know.
And lastly, do you think that motor racing should be part of the Olympic sports?
I think I do, unless the cars are the same. But you always have the problem that the car can break down and something. And of course, you have the drivers who are better in open wheel and drivers who are better with touring cars. So that's a bit tough, but I think it should be.
Cool. That's all good to know. So you can go and have a nice little sleepies now, surely. You're well overdue.
Yeah, I've been awake all the race, and before this, James and I had a 6-hour race at Paul Ricard earlier today, so we're quite done with it, but we'll continue.
That deserves a round of applause.
Yeah, well,
Two endurance races today.
I don't really want to say it, but James did the 2 hours before he went to qualifying, and then I started to drive, and after half an hour we disconnected, so we didn't finish it really, so I kind of been it, but okay. Don't say Don't tell James that I said that.
No. I think he did kind of mention that it didn't go to plan, but as long as your disconnections don't happen in this event as well, that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Well, best of luck. Have a good sleep before you get back in the car again. And if you see your wayward Mike, he's more than welcome to pop in here and say hello when he's not sleeping as well.
I think he's listening right now, so...
Mike, come in to the booth.
Alright, I'm going to pop off now, so... Good luck with the broadcast.
Thank you very much. You take care.
Also to Dave, of course, doing a great job as admin.
Whoop whoop.
Great fun. Shout out.
Ciao. That was one Schroten. Can I count to 2? And do I have the time to do so? I'm just having a quick look. Lucas Oil is now just 7.7 seconds behind Tom Jacobs in the battle for 7th and 8th. 7th being held by TSA and Simcrafter in 8th position after 3 disconnections so far in this first half of the 24 hours of Le Mans. Not 12 hours, we're coming up for the 12-hour mark. Ollie Pelkanen doing a much better stint this time round, actually, in his FA car. "23 seconds covers Toby Davis from Mike Bell, THR versus Smile Power. Enterprise then third, further 54 back. Drake's James Johnson is in 4th, ahead of FA's Ollie Polkin in 5, Missouri Adonis's Victor Silvers in 6th, CSA's Tom Jacobs 7, Simcraft's Lucas Oile in 8th, Maltese Automotive's Beat DeVos is in 9th, Woods Chris Williamson is in 10th, ahead of Cosmo's Matteo Giuliano in 11th, Drake 2's Hinsman, sorry, my eyes were playing up with me there, is in 12th place. Marius van Wink is back going again in 13th position for Deltic. That team are still soldiering on, albeit 35 laps off of the lead. I've just spied someone in the chat room waiting to be... Huh? Toby has left the game! Oh no! Ivan Navarro has joined as a player and kicked Toby Davis out of the game! Oh my goodness me! This is an absolute turn on the head of events here for the THR team. Oh, Navarro, what have you done? Oh dear, THR will be absolutely mortified with that one. For sure. And just bang on the 12-hour mark, as James Shepherd has just tweeted. We've got 5 minutes left to go. Ivan Navarro comes into the chat, into the game now. Yeah, Smile will be absolutely delighted. Ah, thank you, Roy. He's just sent me a Wikipedia for the taxi movie he was after. I'll have a look at that in a smidgeroo. But Ivan Navarro has just given Smile Power an extra reason to get that cheesy grin out, because that puts Mike Bell back into the lead by 56 seconds from Boyd Bryson in the Enterprise G car. THR now have the worry of having a penalty. It will keep them in third because the Drake car of James Johnson is too far back to be jumping all over the back of that car. My goodness. Oh my goodness. What a shock. at least he's gone and served his penalty straight away there, Ivan Navari. He's in the pit box. Probably seething inside and with a little bit of red cheekness. This is exactly what Smile and Enterprise I was just thinking the same thing, cameraman extraordinaire. Don't know if that went out live on air or not. But that whisper is definitely all about setting up something. I'm losing my voice. 12 hours in. Oh, I've eaten so much and drunk so much as well. My stomach is actually groaning. Oh dear, don't stand on a plate, Simon. And we have into the broadcast booth the one, the only. Yeah. Timu song.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah! Timu, how are you?
Smithy, hey.
How's it going in the FA camp?
Well, I'm broken, tired, and hungry.
Broke and tired and hungry.
Yeah, I'm just... the race has just been a roller coaster.
But it's a roller coaster that's riding back up again for a sweet finale, second half, surely, because you're back up into 5th position, and it looks as if there could be problems for connections for other teams up ahead, and things like that.
Yeah, I'm really surprised by the disconnections. I've seen the Delta cars disconnect and Euler disconnected, I think, twice during my stints. And yeah, other people as well. I'm just amazed that we're still in the game.
You know, you're doing well, and maybe we should all let Timu win. Yeah. Let the Timu get Tiger in first place, and everyone will be happy, boy. Yeah.
Oh, I'm flattered.
Ah, everyone secretly wants Timu to win. So, when are you next due in the car?
I've just spent the first I mean, I've spent 7 hours of the first 12 in the car, so
Your job is done.
well, not really.
Oh no!
There's only 3 of us, and Jan is nowhere to be seen, and Ollie isn't really comfortable with the car, so he's just going around the circle, just trying to keep it on the track. But as he said, he's had a bit of a misfortune. So, but you can't blame him. He's just inexperienced and
Yeah.
and
Everyone has to learn somewhere, don't they?
yeah.
Just not in Timu's car.
No, I
Interesting.
understand. I've been a newbie once and most crash-prone driver once as well.
I think a little bit more than once, but there you go. But no, it's there's a very valid point to make. Everyone does start out as a noob once, and a lot of people should do well to remember that, especially learner drivers out on track. We all had to learn once. Don't drive up their arses whilst you're on a public road. Oh, such badness to the world. Ivan Navarro is still waiting to get out of the pit lane, by the way, in that THR car. So you're looking rather fabulous in the 5th position at the moment. You're well clear of Victor Silva's Mazurek behind, so that's going to be good. Fancy asking 7 fantastic questions for me?
Well, why not?
Oh. It's nothing too strenuous, don't worry. What's your favourite racetrack of all time?
I really enjoy the really challenging ones like Monaco or Nordschleife. So yeah.
Okay. Cool. And do you have a particular racing series that you love to watch, basically?
Now that's a tough one because I really enjoy them all, but to choose one that I enjoy the most,
You can have a couple, that's okay.
probably F1 and NASCAR.
Oh,
Just the F1 is the technological just and the NASCAR is just close racing, driver skill, all combined.
cool. No, that's a good evaluation of the two. Great stuff. Do you have a favourite film?
I really like the Matrix trilogy, but not really sure if that counts as one.
Yeah, that'll do. You can do a back-to-back marathon of all 3. Might take you a while. It's a bit like when I done that with Lord of the Rings when I got the box set with the extended editions. Oh my god, it was. It's like doing one of these races, only just with Frodo saying, "I can't throw it in the rings." All the time, all the way through. It's just ridiculous.
But aren't they all just like 3 hours each?
The extended ones go to, I think, 4 hours each, which is craziness. So yeah,
Wow, that's
it was a long day. It was a very long day. And to be quite honest, I was ready to just take the ring and throw it into some toilet somewhere and hope never one ever finds it again. So I feel their pain. Lucas Euler has caught up onto the back finally of Tom Jacobs. The gap was 7 seconds last time we checked. It's now more like 7/10 of a second as they go through. That could be interesting for you because Simcraft, after their disconnections, they're now behind you. But that team has potentially the pace to catch the FA team back up again, doesn't it?
yeah, absolutely. We just have to hope that Ollie keeps it on the track and Johnny can do some good laps in the car, and maybe hopefully I'll do some stints later.
Cool. Okay, here comes Lucas. It looks like he's going to have his first go at Tom Jacobs, and it looks like it's going to be a successful overtake down the straight. He's going to have the inside for the upcoming turn, and beautifully done. Keeps it well within the racing track limits. A few people completely outbrake themselves at the end of that, but Not this time. Lucas Euler there straight up into what is now 7th position. Immediately 6 tenths clear of Tom Jacobs, who's trying to cling onto that slipstream to make something of it. I don't think he is close enough to be able to cling on for any more of those dear lives. Yes, we should have a broadcast jam with Hollywood's Mickey James. Roy Schroeder, birds are starting to flute. My time to sleep. Things will drive for now. Things are looking stable in P4. That's what you think when you go to sleep, Ryan. God knows what it'd be like when you wake up. Apocalypse. Anyway, TV, if you do you have a favourite racing game that you play? In general, apart, including R Factor. R Factor can be your favourite, obviously.
I really like to separate the racing games and racing simulators because they just are two different genres. So, game, probably something like Flat Out 2 or something like that.
Flat Out series is good actually. Nice, good smashing up of cars.
Yeah, it's a good combination of destruction derby and racing. So. And that's what I like.
Hence your finishing rate, probably. But no, it's all good. And if you was to make a flavour of crisps, what flavour would you invent?
I can't actually come up with any good. Probably because all the weird combinations are invented here, so just say anything and it's probably on sale here, so
Fair enough. And if you used to be a superhero, what would you call yourself?
well, I don't fucking know.
Team. Or you could have a team of superheroes which would be calling themselves Team.
Well, that wouldn't fit to me. More like Team Toyka, just me alone.
Yeah, I am all the team. Yes. And last question of the 7. Do you think that motor racing should be at the Olympic Games?
I've heard it said it here before, but if the playing level is equal, then yes, like something like karting, but F1 or GT3, nah. Just like there's in athletics, there are different types of shoes and then swimming there are types of swimming suits. Then why not different type of karting chassis?
Yeah, that makes sense. Good analogy. Thank you very much. Well, I shall let you enjoy a nice rest before you get dragged back into that car, because you know it's happening at some point.
Well, it's 6 a.m. so half past 5 moment.
Oh well, time for brekkie. You take care, mate, and I shall catch up with you soon if you're about.
Alright.
Doodle Pips, that was Mr. Timu Toika, who... I didn't mean to do that. Great. Everyone's favourite Finnish friend, Marius Van Wink, is into the pits for Deltec for what is one of their rare normal tyre change stops they've been able to get to. Ivan Navarro is back out again in that THR and is about to complete his first flying lap in anger. Still very much in 3rd position He's got 3 minutes 10 advantage over James Johnson ahead, so the majority of a lap clear. That helps him out. As Boyd Bryson takes the lead because Mike Bell for Smile Power is in the pits and is swapping over to Reese Gardner. So welcome into the race for the first time on this 24-hour stint, Reese Gardner. Well done. Hello. Sure, Reese will be getting down and dirty with that smile. Also, back into the race, Mark Fuller is back behind the Woods racing car. And Ivan Navarro's first lap out there is a 4:05, so we'll need to go a little bit quicker than that to make sure that he upholds THR's policy, but I think he's just trying to get the car and making sure that he doesn't do any more drama llamas. And it must do your confidence some knocking, actually, if you come in and make a terrible admin mistake that has really upset the flow of the team, and then you're like, ooh. So it puts you on your back foot for when you're actually coming in to do some racing. And it could push you one of two ways. You could then overdrive and then bin it, or you'll underperform because you don't feel confident. I'll tell you what, we couldn't get fresher out of the old tumble dryer than this. We've got Mr. Bellend in the room. How are you doing, Mike?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Very happy after that stint.
I bet your smile is absolutely broad once you saw the problems with THR.
Yeah, as much as it might be a bit, not the kindest thing to say, it really cheered everyone up down there, because obviously I'm the slow driver of our team, and Toby's the quick driver of his team, and I was just about staying as close to him as I needed to for us to do alright, and then when he went off and crashed, everyone just seemed so much more happy, and then unfortunately they had the issue with the driver swap, and that gave him a penalty and may have taken him out of the equation for good, so it could be just us and Enterprise.
So, coming into this event, you've already decided that you're the slowest driver of the lot? That must be quite a difficult place to take up in a team, especially when you're doing so well and competing for podiums and wins and so on.
Yeah. Well, I don't consider myself slow in these things, but the other three are just faster than me, if that makes sense. I mean, I was lapping around in the 359 to kind of 401 range most of the time I was in the car, so that's not slow at all. I was the second quickest throughout the time I was in the car. It was only the THRs that were really going quicker, and Strane in the Enterprise when he was there. But when Boyd got in, we managed to pull a bit of a gap, and it was about a minute when I went into the pit, so Reese is about 20 seconds behind him or so, and Reese should be able to close that gap in, and hopefully if the EGP pits this lap, which we think it will, then they might fall back and hopefully fall out of it, leaving just us left, fingers crossed.
Sounds like you've got it all worked out and planned.
Yeah, but the best laid plans, they always go wrong.
Freaking good looking good. Ask anyone who's ever tried to set up a private server. Bad, all bad, all bad. I'm going to say or ask, I can't remember now. Couldn't have been that good.
Well, Boyd's just pitted, so we're back in the lead, which is good.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
And he's going to spend about a minute to 64 seconds stationary, so hopefully we'll increase our lead.
That is indeed. That's what I was going to ask you, because I was busy watching Boyd there popping in. When have you had to pit so far with some damage, and how much extra time is that really eating up into a pit stop? Because do you then think, oh, actually I'll turn it off and forego that 1 or 2 mile per hour straight line speed, or is it always just you will fix the damage regardless because it's going to cost too much anyway?
Well, There's a thing, I don't know if it's an issue that I've had or an issue that everyone's having, but if you select to turn the damage, leave the damage as it is, they repair it anyway, but they don't repair it back to the same quality that you would be able to hit your top speeds with. So I put our car in the wall on my first lap, which is really not good of me. But coming into sector 3 in the first corner there, I missed my braking point by a bit and into the tire wall, and we've lost about 2 kilometers an hour because of damage to the splitter that can't be repaired. But that cost us 19 seconds in the pits extra because they repair the damage while they're putting the fuel and tires on and in the car. And then I tried to be a bit clever and only take rears on my second stop. Just in the hope I could get some time back, and I gained back maybe 15 seconds of those 19 that we lost, so that's good.
Giving away some of your tightwad tips, that, I think.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, because I like to think that I'm pretty good on my tyres, as evident in the Super Cup last year and at Silverstone this year. And I didn't make it by a great deal with only changing rears, so hopefully not many other people can do that. But I'm sure there'll be some people doing it already that just haven't been changing all 4 at each pit stop.
So, who do you have your pattern for who's doing what next for the rest of the race all mapped out? You've got Reese in the car at the moment, and that's Reese's first go out there, isn't it?
Yeah. Me and Reese were gonna do the nighttime stuff, but no, we actually had a schedule and we've already broken it. It went well up until Fran went to get in the car for his second stint, and his force feedback was inverted, and his reset key didn't do anything. So at that point, he drove back through the pit lane, gave the car back to Jesper. So that cost a couple of seconds, and obviously threw us off of what we were doing anyway. And Jesper goes to give the car back to Fran again at the next scheduled stop, and the same thing happens. But Fran keeps going with it, just to try and grin and bear it as such. And he did a great job. Credit to him. He was lapping very consistently, considering his force feedback was completely opposite of what he was used to it being. So it pulled away at the sides as opposed to push in the middle at the sides.
Mm-hmm.
So he drove that for as long as he could, and he was completely knackered. So we did a swap between me and him early, just by driving through the pits and swapping. And it was only really him to me because Reese wasn't around at that point. So Reese is now driving what should be my stint, and I drove what should have been Reese's. So we've swapped that already, but the order's roughly planned out.
Awesome stuff. As night time is well underway here, and if anything, we'll start to be coming out to the other side to morning. As we start to approach the morning or the early hours of day, what are the kind of things that the track starts to change as the day begins to blossom?
Well, first thing is the sun comes up, so the shadows are all completely different. So if you rely on shadows for a brake mark, which a lot of people do, then the shadows are constantly changing as to where the sun is. So, what could be in one place one lap will be somewhere else in 2 or 3 laps. The track also warms up because the sun comes out, which could lead to higher tyre wear and also faster lap times, because obviously more heat in the track, more heat in the tyres. And obviously the lighting conditions change a lot, so whereas right now it's pretty much pitch black around a lot of the track, aside from the floodlit areas. When you're driving, say, down on the run down to Indianapolis, it's pretty pitch black and there's nothing to distract you. But in the sun, you see all the trees and things, and I think there's a blimp or something that's flying around there as well, if you look up, that could just be caught in your peripheral and make you look away from what you're doing for a moment, so it could lead to a couple more mistakes. That's why I like driving at night. You don't really have any distractions. But obviously the air temp as well warms up, so if people are running low radiators, they could start to heat up a little bit.
Good
That's all I can
analysis,
really think
actually.
of.
There's a Mazurek in the wall. Is that Roten? Because he's proper
Yeah, that's Mike.
wriggling his car around, isn't he?
Oh, I just saw it on the broadcast. That looked
Oh, that is a big one. Double hit.
double, more like quadruple, if that.
Yeah, yeah.
Just come banging along the wall. That was who was it that crashed there earlier? There's someone crashed there earlier. I don't remember who it was, but yeah, not a.
There was a Delta off round there at one point.
Yeah, when you get a wheel up on that curb, it drags you straight. So if you try and turn right to get off the curb, it just pulls you straight into the wall. Best thing to do is just drive straight off the curb and then turn right.
Mm-hmm. And at what point, if that car is massively damaged, actually, at what point do you then go, right, actually, it's better for me to park it, take the penalty, and get a fresh car on the reset? Is that like, I have to have a puncture for that to be effective, or?
Not a puncture, more like a missing wheel. Because a puncture, that's, like they just change the tyres, it doesn't really cost you anything damage-wise, other than the bodywork.
Uh-huh.
But, I've never broken a flat six, other than like broken it so it's terminal, like say blowing the engine up. I've never broken a flat six that it's enough to be undrivable. So I'm not 100% sure, but an impact like that, I mean, he's still got his rear wing on, which, as much as most people who run in one wing around here, one wing does make a difference to having no wing at all. So that, as long as that's on, and he can manage the understeer with no splitter, then it should be alright to keep going, once he's fixed the punctures, that is.
Great stuff. Well, let's see how that affects that battle, because that was for 6th position. It was. Well, it was. It's not anymore, because Simcraft has now gone up into 6th position. TSA has already now gone up into 7th position. And Tom Jacobs is still only 2.9 behind that Simcraft car. So that's interesting to note. Walters Automotive are 9th, but they are a ton of laps behind Mike Schroten, so Schroten can afford to just limp it round and make sure that everything is hunky diddles. But it's going to drop them off of the battle with TSA and Simcraft over 6th, 7th and 8th positions. I wonder if Mazurek will keep Schroten in that car. He's not been in there very long, to be fair, so we'll see how that develops as he limps himself round. Everyone except the Deltic car has completed more than 150 laps. Deltic are on 148, but they are still going. They credit to them to be doing that.
Well, if anything, it proves never give up, and something might come your way.
Definitely, definitely.
Like, oh, go on.
No, you go.
I was just gonna say, as soon as, because we was expecting Toby to swap out to a van or to John Monroe or someone who's not as quick as Toby is. So when we saw Toby stay in the car again and again and again, it's like, really, are they just trying to, get their fast drivers to build a lead so that they maybe wouldn't lose it? And we didn't give up, and in the end, Toby stacked it. So maybe Deltec are hoping for something similar, but only a bit more severe than stacking the car, more like a couple of disconnects. But they have been happening. But the Simcraft has disconnected 3 times this race, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Crazy stuff. It's all getting a bit dramatic as Mike Schroten has now made it to the pits in that Mazurek Adonis, so that will keep him well grounded in 8th position. Sole person in the pits at the moment. Still Smile Power leading by 1 minute 20 from Enterprise. They're pulling away.
Yeah, it's good to see Reese pulling away from Rude, because Rude's no slouch, and Reese is doing a great job, I think.
And he's a driver that we don't see much in GPVWC, is it?
As far as I know, it's his GPVWC debut, so he's a friend of ours from other websites, and when we needed a driver, he was about and was gracious enough to step in, and he's doing a brilliant job of it.
because I quite often see him on Facebook talking about various races elsewhere, but it's not necessarily GPVWC. So welcome to the league, Reese. I hope you have a lovely time, especially if you're out there in P1.
Not a bad way to make a debut.
Yeah, exactly. Good stuff. That will help him out. Has there been anyone else that's really taken you by surprise, pace-wise, either for the better or for the worse in their stints?
Definitely for the better was Alexander van der Waal, because I'm used to seeing him, driving in things like V8s where he's, really far off the pace. And so I'm looking at the qualifying order for the race there and thinking, oh, Van der Waal's done quite good. He's done a good qualifying. I expect he'll drop back in the race though, and he didn't. He moved forward, so very impressed with him. And also James Johnson surprised me. I know he's an endurance specialist, but we've raced each other in flat sixes before, and he hasn't been very quick ever. So he's definitely surprised me to be putting that drag up into fourth at the moment. And beyond that, no one who's really surprised me how slow they've been, but those are the people that surprised me the most of how quick they've been.
Great. Well, for that, I was just checking that Ivan Navarro is still going. Yes, he is. In that THR.
Oh no. Reese done a Matt Richards.
Uh-oh.
No, I'll keep going. They'll buff out.
Into the pit wall. What is so well, it is actually. But what is so tricky, because we've seen so many people drop it there. What is so tricky about? Is it just you bite too much and you want too much of that curb, or is it just unsettling the car? What is the How do you bid it best around there?
I haven't been there. I don't think ever really, but the chicane before it, the curbs are very bumpy, so they can easily throw the car off balance. And if you go into, because there's small sausage curbs embedded in the big curve to the final chicane. If you go into one of them offline, then you're gonna go round. Simple as. Or if you go into one of those with the car off balance or something like that. I think it was Matt and Toby who did it in the first stint, that they just drove straight across it and just clipped the sausage curb with maybe their back left wheel or something, and it was enough to just bounce the car around.
Crazy stuff, and we saw that actually. Sausage curbs are a relatively new thing to these types of, to motor racing in general. I don't remember sausage curbs being such a big thing, say like 5 or 6 years ago. It was just that you ran wide from the curb, or you got caught out on the big curb, not these sausage curbs in the background. Do you remember them being around like longer than a few years ago?
In sim racing, yes, but in real racing, no. But that's just like, for ages and ages, I raced in a very small area of sim racing for maybe like 5 years, without really going out and finding other places to race. It was only start of last season I found out about GPVWC. So it's been a long time since I've driven with these people. It's been a long time that I've been sim racing before, and I was always used to the big anti-cuts there, but these ones here are small compared to the ones I've been used to driving against. The ones I'm used to driving against are basically walled on apexes. These ones here are very generous.
And do you take that into account when you're thinking of like setup versus qualifying and race, and how often do you think that you may end up sliding over when you're over driving it or something like that? Or is it just, do you know what, I'll set my car up regardless, just don't make the mistake?
We make our setup. I think the setup we're actually using is one that's slightly edited from the setup that took me to a race win in the WSS at Canada, Montreal. So we've just tweaked it slightly, to make it lower the downforce and things like that, to make it a little bit quicker. And beyond that, we've just changed our lines through the, even up through the race. I was trying different lines to different corners, because I saw early on in my stint when both Toby and Eric passed me, they were way quicker through the first chicane on the Mulsanne, so I was trying different lines through that to try and see what worked and what didn't. I eventually found one that did and wasn't too slow after that. And I think Reese is doing the same. I know Jesper and Fran were doing something similar when they weren't in the car. They were analysing what other people were doing and tweaking their line around that to avoid sliding over the curves and the anti-cuts and things like that.
I was just resorting out my R factor for a second there. It was just having a little bit of a spaz out. My computer had froze for a sec. So I am back with us all now. Apologies for that. Okay. I think I'm back. Am I there? Yes, it is. Hurrah. Apologies there. I was freaking out. Silently on the inside. Okay. So, we're past the 12-hour mark here at the Le Mans 24 hours. Still 13 teams are remaining. 12.5 hours in now, actually, to be fair. Into the pits is the FA car of Olli Pulkkinen from what was 5th position. So that will do him quite nicely.
It looked very second-hand when he brought it in. It was missing its front bumper and had dents all around, so maybe that had been in the wall quite recently.
Well, Pulkkinen done quite a good job of walling the first time round, didn't he?
Nah, I wasn't really watching Pulkkinen when the first time round was. I was more trying to do maths between Simcraft, Midnight, THR, Enterprise, and us.
Yeah, no, he had a couple of problems with his stint, which meant that he was well down on horsepower down the streets. And didn't really choose to come in and pit and swap over or anything, so that was the issue there.
Okay.
For him at least, anyway. But it's interesting to see that he looks like he'll be continuing on in the FA car. In fact, he's come back out against in 5th position. Everyone still continuing on quite nicely. Navarro still in the 404s, 403s. He's not really been able to keep up with Heasterbeek or Gardner, so although Gardner's just on a 405, it's interesting that he is slipping away. He's not helping himself despite having caused the issue earlier on, so we'll see how that one develops as we go on.
Well, no offense to Ivan, but he's probably the outright slowest person in that THR car. Of the 6 of them, he's, the other 5, I know are race winners from various different places. I don't think I've ever seen a van win a race, so he's in quite the all-star team, so to speak. And a tough act to follow, but Ivan is a genius when it comes to making setups, so you can be practically sure he made the THR setup for here, and he's incredibly reliable. You never really see this guy DNF, so he's an asset to any team, despite maybe being a bit down on pace.
The king. I think when you're busy battling away, consistency is always the best, so we continue on. Should we dive on board for a quick hot lap whilst I pop off to the men's room?
Reese is coming up to the final chicane. It's quite convenient.
That is quite convenient. Let's dive on with the race leader as we start to get the eminence of a morning dawn here at Le Mans. Thank you very much, Mike, for popping in and saying hello and having a wee chat room.
That's okay.
Let's join.
Thank you for doing the broadcasts.
Very welcome. Here's an onboard lap with Reese Gardner. So that was a lovely lap on board with Reece Gardner on the lead of GPVWC's Le Mans series. Into the pits from 4th position comes James Johnson in a Drake VBM. A quick rundown of the field, just as it stands at the moment, is Smile Power still leading with Reece Gardner. We've just had an onboard lap with him, 11 pit stops completed, 187th lap that he is on. He is currently a minute and 5 clear of Ruud Heesterbeek in second for Enterprise GP. Third is THR with Ivan Navarro. He is a further 3 minutes and 19 seconds off the back. Excuse me, of Ruud Heesterbeek. Then 4th position for James Johnson. He's just a further lap behind. 5th is Ollie Pelkanen, further 3 laps further back, with Simcraft's Lucas Euler 2 minutes and 31 seconds further behind the F8 Racing driver. Then 7th is Tom Jacobs, SA driving TSA car, sorry. He's 11 seconds behind Lucas Euler. Those two still relatively close, and that surprises me actually, to be fair. Then 8th position is Mike Schroten. He is 2.5 minutes off the pace, or a lap, how you look at it. Then a further 6 laps back in 9th is Walters Automotive's Bart de Vos. He's 3 laps clear of Mark Fuller in the Woods racing car, who's in 10th position. Cosmo's in 11th with Matteo Giuliano. In 12th place, 10 laps further behind Matteo, is Drake's VBM2, that's Chris Kinsman, back behind the wheel again. Deltec has got Marius Van Wink, and they've done 150 laps now. They're in 13th, and the final position. It is points paying, but it is the final position. So Dave, I don't know if you're about and able to have a wee chat about how things are going at the moment, but we're well past halfway. We're still kicking, just about.
For now. See how long that lasts. I noticed a few yawns coming over your microphone lately.
I'm getting in. It's because I've eaten and drunk so much. There's been quite a lot of ciders gone in.
How was the takeaway bingo? Was it worth it?
It was nice. It was nice. The Balti was a little bit bland, but the biryani was really nice. And I've saved the chat thing and the naan roll for today, so that I can have it at lunch.
Something to close off the broadcast with, perhaps.
Yeah, something like that. Earlier on in the evening, I was having a raspberry ripple cheesecake, which is a family size. I have done half of it over the course of the broadcast. So that is probably, with that combined with cider, combined with takeaway, is why I'm feeling ridiculously fat and full at the moment, and actually a little bit like...
You should be glad you haven't got to get out there and race then.
Yep, I don't have to go out there and race, but as soon as this broadcast is finished, I then have to go and start doing some work, which sucks. Major donkeys. Reece Gardner nearly collapsed the outside wall from the end of those chicanes. As race director, that chicane has caused a few incidents and thoughts in general. What's your take on the whole cutting procedure, kind of unofficially?
Well, officially, it kind of all counts as a curb, the whole painted section. We did ask the drivers not to take liberties with it. It seems one or two have decided to ignore that. I think that's something we'll just have to look at post-race, and the majority have been okay with it though, which is good to see.
And there's not really anywhere else that you... We've seen some people go straight on over some chicanes, but in general that's just been out of pure avoidance slash I've completely outbraked myself, oh dear. So there's not really much else that you can do cutty wise around here, to be fair. So quite a nice circuit for that. Where else would you like to do an endurance race? If you was given free reign, where else would you like to go?
Well, I think we're already doing it later this year. The endurance race around the Nordschleife. That's going to be a lot of fun. In an ideal world, it'd be quite nice to do a full WEC calendar, so you've got the likes of Spa and Silverstone and perhaps tracks like Fuji as well that we don't get to visit too often. But it's just whether there's the interest for such a series, I suppose.
Because it's such a huge time sink about that, that's going to be quite a huge commitment for a lot of people if they're going to want to get involved with something like that, I suppose. So
yeah, I mean, we were talking to somebody earlier that said they'd done something like 300 laps practice for this race, and when you consider it's 4.5 minutes a lap, that's a significant commitment that they've put into this event.
Definitely. The level of commitment that a lot of sim racers do give to their passion, and it's why we all love the sport, I'm sure it is. Where else? I'd quite like to see an endurance race around Norris Ring myself. That would be amazing.
Can you imagine the traffic?
It would be crazy. I tell you what, though, never a dull second, because you wouldn't know what bloody hell to do. Everyone would be coming off of their stint, needing some kind of morphine drug to calm themselves back down again.
Maybe we'll have to look at it for the ITC in the future. One of those 60-minute races that we used to see at GRC.
Yeah, the little trophy event at the end. Yes.
Throw a bit of wet weather in there too. It'll be brilliant.
Oh yes. Oh yes. I used to excuse me. I used to really enjoy those GRC trophy events because once or twice I didn't actually have to commentate on them, so I could actually race in the things. And used to enjoy myself actually, because the thing with touring cars, and especially because the field is still so big for it over here at GPVWC, it doesn't really matter what type of ability level that you're running at. There is always someone around you at that ability, and that's what makes ITC have a little mini special place in my little chest of hearts. So
yeah, it's very good for that. But even this event today, you see the likes of Mark Fuller, who is perhaps not the fastest on the grid. He's been having a lot of good battles as well with people around him, so even in a smaller field like this, it's worked out quite well for those that aren't quite on the front running pace.
Definitely. Woods Racing still clinging on to their 10th place at the moment, so that's all good. I could imagine actually the Circuit of America as being quite good for an endurance race.
I believe that is on the WEC calendar. It's one.
Oh!
We were looking at doing something along those lines with a GT mod this year on 2-hour races, but we just didn't manage to get the interest levels for it. But Texas was on the calendar that we had planned for that, which would have been about a 6-hour race, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Would have been interesting, I think.
Yeah, just because of the flowing nature, and I could see it causing issues maybe with Sector 1, where it's going to be difficult to get out of the way for other drivers if you're coming around to be lapped or whatever, but it just seems to lend itself well, I think, to that type of racing. And I would have probably have said even India would have worked quite well, maybe.
Oh, that's an awful track.
Why is that an awful track?
India's horrible.
I quite like the
How can
flow
anyone
of that.
like it? It just seems really disjointed. The corners are too wide on entry. It's just not a very flowing circuit, I don't think.
If you used to have a 6-race calendar for whatever your favourite series of racing would be, what would you like to have racing on there?
Can we just do Monaco 6 times?
Just because you always win.
Or some combination of Monaco and Hungary, that'd be great. As long as I get to
Hungary.
drive a backmarker car, of course.
Of course, of course, of course. Hanako.
Someone needs to make that. That'd be brilliant.
Ah. Well, there is that really, really cool track out there, isn't there? The fantasy one where they nick all the different corners from loads of different tracks and just
where you go
sew them
from
all together.
the tight hairpin of Monaco onto the Straits of Bahrain. That's a bit of a weird one, but I think we did a fun event with that a couple of seasons ago. It took some getting used to for the drivers. Very disorientating.
I used to really like from the original Formula 1 game that was on the PlayStation 1 for Psygnosis. They made a fantasy track where you would drive round the outline of the 95 Ferrari car. That was quite interesting as well. It was all kind of set in a weird futuristic world, which didn't kind of fit the bill. But actually, in terms of it being a racetrack, it was just funny to go, oh, I've just driven around a nose cone. It was quite good.
There are a lot of really nice fantasy tracks out there. Obviously, we don't use them too much, but there are some good ones if you're just looking for a fun race. It's the bullring layout is one that a lot of people seem to really enjoy.
Yeah, because there used to be the 400, wasn't there? Of the
Yeah,
bullring.
I've not seen a race there in a long time, but it's a really fun track to drive.
Simon's brain slowly ticking over there. Thinking of some obscure event that could be made with fantasy tracks.
I think it'd have to be the Miniville cars.
Oh,
Let's just do a Christmas special with those or something.
meep meep.
No, that is a series from Meep if there ever was one.
That is very true. That is very, very true. It's funny actually. I would quite like to see a series or take part again in a league with McGann's the trophies in, because that's essentially what brought me to R Factor in the first place, and then into sim racing league wise. Back when I first started off with sim racing in general, when I bought R Factor, it was the USAR McGann Trophy server. I used to spend almost all of my time flitting between that and playing Trackmania United. That would be the extent of my racing stuff, apart from like all the F1 games as they were going on, and which is cool. And oh, hang on, James Shepherd, F197 Sanubu circuit, I think is what he's trying to say there, because there was various track permutations going. But yes, I spent so much time on that McGann server, which was great, and then there was a link to a Formula Sim Racing broadcast in their forum. And that was how I first found out that sim racers had proper leagues, and that the leagues were being broadcast. And that was mid 2008. And then I popped across to that league, signed myself up. Took 3 or 4 races to actually qualify for a race, and the rest was history, as they say.
And here we are now. It's all gone downhill.
I know, now it's, what is it, 4:30 in the morning, chatting away. It feels, in some ways, it feels like so long ago, and in other ways it really doesn't.
I think it'll start to go a little bit quicker. Well, sorry, we're talking about the history, weren't we? Yeah, it doesn't feel as long as it has been. If you think, really, it's 4 years ago now that we started GPO.
Yeah. The fabled. Crikey.
A question from Mike Bell here for you.
Mhm.
what would be the 5-driver dream team for this event, in your opinion?
For me, see, for my dream team would be different to everyone else's dream team because my expectations are going to be somewhat lower.
I think we need to hear it anyway.
My personal dream team would be myself, Marco Vandenbroek, Joshua Anderson, Ben Willis, Ollie Woods. I think that would be the ultimate dream team for last place in the wooden spoon for everything ever known to man.
That would be an impressive lineup.
It would be an impressive lineup. That would be just as bad as when I had Miles Dixon lead my endurance team. That was an amazing
That
event.
well did it.
That was the time when it was the 8 hours of Fuji and we disconnected with 21 minutes to go. I nearly cried.
Is that the one that was... I forget the name of the league now. It was about 2008, 2009?
RGLMS it was.
Oh, okay, not that one then. We did a 8-hour race at Fuji with Torrent in about 2008. Did all the testing for it and then disconnected on the formation lap, which was a lot of fun.
Oh no! See, and that's a good point actually. Would you prefer to disconnect on lap 1 or on lap penultimate?
I think lap 1. Even though it's frustrating, you haven't put in the effort. You haven't gone through the hours of strategy and battling your way through to then have it snatched away at the last minute. Yes, it's annoying to not get the chance and go out on lap 1, but I think it's preferable to 20 minutes to go.
Oh dear, my painful yelp on air. Okay, but my dream team, I think, for actually, if I wanted to win, that would be a. That would be a very different thing because there would be drivers I'd probably say that are not necessarily present here in this race. So things like Ventus Deirdreson was someone that always stood out for me as an amazing endurance driver and open wheeler actually driver, to be fair. I would probably put Toby Davis in there as well.
I think that's a must, isn't it, based on what we've seen today?
Yeah. Arno Hoog, maybe. No. I'm getting confused. As Tom Vandervoort takes over the Simcraft car. It's I'd never seen Jesper Tolberg in a endurance car until today, and he was mighty impressive, so I was really pleased with that. And Fran Lopez as well has been my surprise today. So,
Fran's an odd one. He's recently come on very strong in everything that he's competing in, whereas until that he was quite an erratic driver. So the change that's come through Fran's been quite impressive.
Yeah, no, that's really, really true, because I've battled with Fran Lopez in open wheelers and kind of thought, oh, he'll get by me eventually, but at least I stand a chance for a lap or two. But no way with that speed on today, and that's a genuine pace. So I don't know if I'd guaranteed put him in my top 5, but he certainly has a pace to be there. That would be that. I'd probably also go then for Chris Butcher, because I've seen him in many endurance race. Yeah, it's difficult because I'd also want to judge my 5 drivers based on how similarly they drive the car and would want to drive the car, and that they would fit well together as part of a team. And I think that would probably fine-tune my changes, because there would be a good 10-12 drivers that you could easily have in there, and they'd have roughly the same pace. But it's going to be just as much about temperament, who can cheer each other up. I'd want someone in there who would be like the morale booster of the team as well, because I very much believe in having good team spirits to soldier on when things are going a little bit topsy-turvy as well. So I go for that kind of vibe as opposed to speed, I guess.
Yeah, you got to have the right personalities.
And I think with an endurance race, because it is such a team effort, you can't afford to have... I'd rather take 5 guys that would work as part of a team than having 4 that does, and then 1 that would want to go for glory, even if they were half a second a lap faster.
I think that's the same for any series, not just endurance racing. If you really need drivers that work together, otherwise you're just going to hold yourself back as a team.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it must be interesting for you as well, because as a team boss, you've got several different hats that you wear, and you've got sister teams effectively that you're having to juggle, and that must be quite difficult, because do you ever find a conflicting of, I'd like to do this but that might affect the other team, or are you able to be quite cut and dry with how you do your decisions?
That's kind of the issue we've had with Super League this year. Was in the past, obviously, Midnight and CSG have worked really closely together, and it's turned out this year that they're direct rivals for this championship. So we've had to kind of segregate them a little bit, so that we're not negatively affecting either team by doing what is best for each. So to make that happen, obviously we've had to push them apart just a little bit. But really all you can do is just try and do what's best for each team and hope that it doesn't cause issues between the two.
I have no experience on any of that at all, because all I've ever had to do is battle over 19th and 20th in a 20-team constructor myself. I suppose the best that I had with that was when Backmarker Brigade was probably at its largest, was 2010, and we had about 10-12 drivers in Grand Prix Online. We had 8 or 10 in Formula Sim Racing. We had an RDLMS team. We had people racing BMB stuff in iRacing as well. It was a real sprawly out league, and I pushed too much. I spread myself out too thinly, because then I was in race department had its Race 07 F1 league that was going on, and I had a team in there, but I had no idea what was actually going on, and then I felt so separated from the actual running operations from that I almost forgot that it existed. And then the poor guys that were actually running for the team, they had no help from me at all, because they were just left to their own devices, and it's very difficult to manage that multi-team aspect. So anyone that can do it well...
It really is once you start spreading to multiple leagues, and that's the issue when I was involved with Torrent. They were in so many different leagues, it was difficult to manage everything and make sure all the drivers were prepared for every event across 3 or 4 leagues that we were doing at the time. It's largely why now with CSG we're only in GPVWC. It's just much simpler to control. Otherwise it starts to get out of hand, just trying to manage everything.
Effectively, what kind of let B&B kind of tumble back down to a just me again, and a slow little mini burn away. We're up to just the Formula Challenge team at the moment, and I'm really quite happy with that. There's some stuff that I did mull over the Super League application, but I just don't feel like I'm ready to take on that kind of responsibility. And if I was to do Super League, yes, we'd probably be last, but I would still want to tightly run and manage the outfit properly, because I believe that shows my business and strategic nous, which I actually think I'm not too bad at that front. I just can't drive for shit. And that's different compared to being able to understand the basics behind how to run a team. And that's the kind of strength that I would like to bring, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's... As a team manager, from what I remember, you always did a really good job. Obviously, you had it was Alex Cooper drove you, didn't he? Briefly, that was his first team.
Yep.
So you've certainly had good drivers come through Backmarker.
Yeah,
you just
definitely.
need to get the results yourself.
Yes, that was always an issue. Yeah, because Alex Cooper started off there. Strange because it wasn't a big shining moment for Alex Cooper when he started, and it's I didn't nurture that at all. So he then peaked in 2010 after being with us in 2009. I always thought at the time that my big coupe driver was Ranji Muru, who's done some ITC stuff, I think, maybe, or his brother may have done anyway. But he used to drive for me in open wheelers and in tin tops as well for a little while, and he was always completely topsy-turvy in terms of pace. But it's the only time that we was like ever leading a race or battling around for something, and I was so in shock. I remember I went on holiday in 2009 around the Italian Grand Prix that was going on, and I was desperately trying to work out how to get onto the internet to watch the broadcast of the race on holiday. And my other half was like going, "Will you just get off the computer?" I'm like, "No!" The beginning of the end of the relationship. But yeah, it was hilarious.
There's nothing wrong with being committed to your team.
Nope. We will all go down with the wooden spoon together. Well, there's no changes going on currently out on the track at the moment.
Even Andreas Waters has just rejoined the track after pressing escape, so he's got a nice fresh car now.
Which is handy for Andreas, because he has thrown that car into the wall several times. Bear with me, I don't even know how I've managed to wrap myself around that cord. But I did. Okay. La la la. Still work? Yes, it does. Good. Oh, there you go. F197's bonus track on hover cars, brilliant. Yes, Mr. Shepherd, that is true. It is that track I'm talking about, by the way.
You remember the bonus track on the original touring car game? The volcano, effectively.
Yes!
You had that, and then you had the tank which you could race, and was it Pink Cadillac, which you could get as well?
Yep.
Always trying to push the AI into the lava.
Die, men, you die! Whoever it was at the time. I was never very good at the original touring cars because it had that gating mechanism where you had to be getting certain positions on certain races to proceed.
I think allow you to just finish last every time.
Nope. Damn it. Soccer 2 was much better with that. And it seemed to be much easier as well because I remember winning the championship immediately and I was like, what? The realist experience. Because you used to have that with going way back in time. And Senna Super Monaco Grand Prix games. They used to be you have to finish certain positions in order to continue your championship. And that used to be really annoying because it was always Hungary. Always. Regardless. I'd be winning the championship by like 30 points. But you had to always come in the top 4 or 3 drivers regardless of what happened. And then it would say, you have failed to finish in the top 3 in this race. You've been sacked. Game over. And I'd be like, but I'm leading the championship quite blatantly. Always Hungary. So sad. The only good thing, one of the best things about the Super Monaco Grand Prix games was the career system, where you used to get your rival, and then you used to be able to take over that person's seat. So, like, instead of McLaren, it was called Madonna, wasn't it? And Ferrari was Firenze.
Really?
Yeah. And then because it was made by Sega, you had the Sigea racing team. Lotus was, I think, Lofus.
See, times like this, I'm glad I'm not that old.
Because the first fully licensed game for F1 that I can remember that had all of the teams and drivers in properly was F1's Domark. Oh no! There were, yeah, I'm sure there was some before, but that was like 1993, 1992. Because but even then it wouldn't have a full grid. The very first F1 game that I ever played was, or that I've still got actually, that's actually licensed by anyone, is Nigel Mansell's Grand Prix Simulator, and it's on my ZX Spectrum 3. You have to put in a cassette and wait for it to load up. And it's you and 8 other AI, but it's that weird motorway effect where it's either yellow and black or green and black, depending on what's actually the type of track you're on.
Brilliant graphics then.
Amazing. But the issue that I always had with that is that the instruction manual, which doesn't really get included in the cassette case that you get, never actually explains how you can change the fuel. And so what you'd find is that you'd get round Rio, the opening round, and you'd be like, yeah, whatever, San Marino's next, and regardless of whatever happened in my game, I'd always run out of fuel with 2 laps to go. Because I couldn't work out how to not change like the fuel mixture up and down a little bit so that I could survive. Answers on a postcard.
It's not going to help make you feel any younger, but I'm pretty sure the first F1 game I had was F1 2000 for the PlayStation.
Oh, get out. James Sheffield just tweeting in actually, do you remember the log car from Speed 2?
I don't, but then James is probably older than all of us, so who knows?
Well, no, because Need for Speed... I'm not very good with Need for Speed games, to be honest. So no, I'm afraid I don't, James, but I shall have a look on YouTube for a wee clippage at some point. There's been some weird offshoots of games as well. I've got the import ROMs of Satoru Nakajima's games.
Of course you have. To be fair, is there any game you don't own?
Yeah. Although that proportion has got a little bit smaller over the Steam Summer Sale. It would be awesome to own all the games though.
You might need a slightly bigger house.
That is true. I may need a museum. I am thinking of doing a YouTube video to try and chronicle the history of Formula 1 games that I have. That would be quite interesting for people to see just how what I had to put up with as a child compared to what you do now.
Probably wouldn't go very well. What we badly need is a new Grand Prix Manager game.
Yes!
Someone needs to make that happen.
That it does indeed. There was something kind of kicking about for a little while where there was a band of people trying to make their own little version of it, and I remember seeing it on a website and it was looking quite nice, but it just seems to have disappeared off the face of the earth again.
I know there was one, I think, didn't they change the name to Pole Position or something? That was meant to be quite promising, and it turned out to be a bit, from what I read with the reviews, it didn't quite, well, it was terrible, basically.
The pole position games that have been coming out at the moment are absolutely dreadful. Like, severely dreadful. And I haven't learned because I've now bought 2 of them, if not 3, only when they're on very, very cheap. But yeah, they're all buggy as hell. It crashes constantly. There is no real rhyme or reason as to what's going on with anything. And like, it seems to think it's okay that your cars are lapped by lap 4 of a race.
Well, that's kind of realistic for Batman Brigade, isn't it?
Ah,
Oh, sorry, it had to be said.
all the pains and hurts. My heart is broken. I don't think I can continue on with the broadcast. But
You only got another 11 hours to go.
I do feel quite tired, actually.
I can't imagine why. It's not like it's 25 to 5 in the morning.
I've noticed that my living room light being on, starting to be outshone by the light coming in through the window. Summer. Here's a random racing game that I have. Crescent Suzuki Racing. Sidecar racing. That's a sport that hasn't really had enough games.
I didn't know they even existed.
No, I might be the only one. In fact, is there a form of motorsport that doesn't have a game at all? Like, I suppose Grand Prix 2, Grand Prix 3, those types of lower formulae don't really have their own games, do they?
No.
And that would be quite good to shoehorn into an F1 game.
It would, but that sounds like far too much work for Codemasters. Oh, THR just hit the wall hard.
Oh dear. Who's that? Is that Ivan Navarro? Oh, he's still there. Is he coming back? I don't see much movement from the cameras. Yes, he is. He's spinning back round now. He's let a few... Oh dear, he chose that a bit poorly. Mike Schroten goes through. Let's see how that suspension is looking. 4 tyres intact.
I'm amazed nothing came off of that car.
Mind you, I had an almighty accident with someone who was slowing down to retire at Silverstone. And I just got utterly confused because they were pulling across the racing line, and so I was pulling the other way and we just met in the middle. And it must have been a good 120 miles an hour that we smacked into or kph that we smacked into each other by. That was one of the least damaged moments that I've ever had in my car. Yet I can smack something at 20 miles an hour and like lose a front wing. It's really weird. Sometimes.
Turns out the FC cars are bouncy when they want to be.
Varro looks like in one piece.
I'm not really sure how. Looks like he's got no issues whatsoever.
Must have been the magic hit. You can start to see a little bit of blue appearing in that sky above them. signify that actually we are starting to have the remnants of daylight appear, would you believe?
There is light at the end of the tunnel for the drivers now. It's always nice when you get to this stage and you've got through the darker stages of the race. A lot of relief goes on.
I made it, yeah! Ah, smack. I don't suppose you start to lose a little bit of your concentration, do you?
Not really. If anything, seeing the light comes up kind of re-energizes you a little bit. I know when I did the Nordschleife 24 Hours a couple of years ago, doing the stint at about 4 or 5 AM in the morning was an awful lot of fun. The sun comes up and the car's really nice and fast. That was the best bit of the race for me personally. Yeah, it's quite difficult for these guys. They obviously started the race and it got dark quite quickly. So this will certainly be a lot easier for them.
Oh, Aaron Bruce are desperately trying to troll it up.
Yeah, I saw that. I think we'll have to remove a couple of TSA entries from the ITC.
Wait for Cam to join the broadcast before. Oh, Dave! Always.
Either that or give number 39 to somebody else, that'll please him.
Aww. What's the deal with the number 39 anyway?
I don't know. Cam seems to love it. If he's listening, maybe he can let us know.
Yeah, that'd be good. Send us in a tweet. I'd love to know why 39 is your number. And actually, it's been such a non-event this year, the introduction of numbers into Formula Ones for the drivers. What it's become is a marketing ploy. And because it's come across as such a terrible marketing ploy, it's really put me off it even more, I think. Especially things like Bottas, because that is just baking the sevens into the T's. It's just, yeah. No, I don't want to.
Yeah, we had an awful lot of questions asking if we were going to do the pick a number for the career ladder this year, but I don't see the point. It's a lot easier for people watching the broadcast as well if they can see, oh, that's car number 1, so obviously reigning champions and all that is a lot simpler.
Number 39 is from my NHL supporting days in high school, and it's stuck.
High school? Where were you from, Cam?
Americana. Oh, it's a favourite number of his player. I thought it was nice and used it ever since. Quite enjoyed a 69 once, but that doesn't mean that I've used it as my number ever since.
What number would you choose?
77.
Any particular reason?
It's I don't know. I like having 7 as my lucky number. So if I couldn't have 7, I think I've gone for 777 before. So it's just as many 7s as I can get on an entry as possible. Because that's why I chose my email address. Isn't because I was born in the year 1977. It is just all the 7s, and it rhymes with Super Sci, which is what I used to call myself a little bit.
You still do, really, don't you?
A little bit. In the inside. Actually, yes, I do. Between me and my other half, I am Super Sci and he is Captain Awesome. So, between us, we are Superhero Deluxe Edition. Shout out to my bubba, by the way, out in Mexico. Oh, my shoes.
A bit better than sitting watching a virtual sim race at 5 in the morning.
Tell me about it. In fact, what time is it out there? We didn't realise that actually. He was able to send me an email the other day because it was his phone doesn't seem to want to work out in Mexico, so he's been quite away to lots of different places and never really had that problem. So it's like, it won't let me text anything, so I found a Wi-Fi place and I'll send you an email. La. It is 11:15 in the evening. Almost time for Sergio Perez's bedtime. Who's that? That's Reece Gardner in the pits. For Smile Power, that's handed the lead back over to Ruud Heesterbeek in the Enterprise car for a short while before his next pit stop. Mark Reed is back in that Deltic car again. Lord help him. And Jenny Vannonen's back in the FA Racing car as well. So we were talking earlier on actually to Andreas Walters actually about the importance of league admin. I can't think of a better person to ask. Admin's obviously always in short supply. Everyone likes to bitch about a league and say why people don't do things or why things should be done X, Y, Z way, but then they're not prepared to put in the effort and the time and the passion and dedication to be in league admin to actually help out. What would you say are the main things that you're looking for help admin wise, and what characters do you look for in someone to come and help with the team?
Well, we're not too picky, really. I mean, one of the big things we've been recruiting for recently is the disciplinary committee. Because typically, until very recently, that was always just done by Chris and Lewis. And with the amount of series and obviously incidents that come with that, that was a huge demand on them. So just recently been recruiting a few people for that. And in terms of requirements, you don't really need a lot as long as you've got a decent understanding of racing. It's pretty simple. Everybody loves to give their opinion on stuff anyway, so most take to it pretty quickly. We've had quite a lot of people offer to help us out with that, and that's been a huge help recently, really lightened the workload on us. In terms of moving forward, always looking for more people for the DC, of course, but in particular, I think we're probably looking for people to help out in terms of camera work, so that I don't have to do this every time. It sounds complicated, but it's such a simple job. I've effectively been sat there now for 12 hours, and it's just pressing a button every 2-3 minutes. It's incredibly simple.
Sounds like a Lost episode.
I should audition for that based on this. But yeah, it sounds a lot more complicated than it is, so if anyone fancies giving it a try, do contact me and we'll see if we can set you up with something.
Even I have been able to do cameras before.
Oh, you should have told me. I could have left it to you and gone to bed.
No. It's been I tell you what, it has been several years, to be fair. When I used to, there was a V8 Touring Cup, and I used to do the cameras and the commentary all at once. Back in my old days.
Back when you were forced to do all of the things.
Where I was spoiled and had a cameraman. Or I became a diva.
You're too good to do it yourself now.
Yeah, I'm above that Deschamps. Oh, I'm not above falling half asleep. Hang on. Wake up. So, as we're coming up for the old morning, do we fancy...
Briefly, it looks like Andreas is back in the pits again, in the garage.
Oh.
Although he doesn't seem to have taken a penalty, so whether he'd gone intentionally parked in the garage himself rather than pressing escape, I'm not sure. Maybe he went for a break.
But Walter's car is still sitting in 9th position. Not massively ahead of the Woods car, just a lap. 3 minutes 45 seconds. Reece Gardner's only 18.5 clear of Ruud Heesterbeek. So that's come
I wonder
down.
if he had to fix some damage following that tap on the wall out of the final corner.
That would not surprise me at all. That was a huge smack. So for what is going to be one of our last times, I think, that we'll be able to do so in the darkness, I think we should take an on-boardy laps to give ourselves a little minute or two to walk around a room and stretch our legs.
Who do you fancy this time?
Well, I always fancy you, Dave, but since you aren't out on track, who have we not given much love to of late? Let's go for... Since he's up and tweeting like a complete nutcase, Tom Jacobs is just crossing over the start-finish line now. Let's go on to him for the Wix TSA Racing Team. That was a lap on board with Thomas Jacobs on the 6th axis. Currently sitting in 7th position. So as we start to rise from the dawn of the day, I think it's time for Simon to shush for a few minutes to enjoy some of the natural sounds of the engines for the next quarter of an hour. Showcasing some of the beautiful sights here of the Le Mans circuit. If something dramatic happens, I will certainly be there to capture it, should we need to. But until then, enjoy natural sounds. GPVWC's Le Mans 24 hours.